my preferred flight simulator is Phoenix, and on this particular dongle, this 4-position switch has to be in the rearmost position for Phoenix to work. I've recently made a move to quads, and so again I thought a simulator would be a good idea. I bought FPV Freerider, which is really good for getting started. And this dongle actually works with FPV Freerider as well. You just have to move the switch to this 2nd position down. So rearmost for Phoenix, next position in works for FPV Freerider. I was so impressed with FPV Freerider that I went out and bought Liftoff as well, which you can get on Steam. You can also get it for the Xbox and the PS2, I believe. And fantastically, this dongle also works with Liftoff. And again, the switch just stays in this position. So this switch position for FPV Freerider and Liftoff, and then the rearmost position for Phoenix. So this would be your normal connection with the input from your transmitter here going in and then plugged into your PC. With this dongle, which you plug into the PC, you plug your simulator in here, and you can connect a receiver to these pins. Now you can use a PPM, or you can use an S-Bus, and in this case I'm using a FreeSky S-Bus receiver, and I've just soldered it directly onto the back here. And the way this works, so instead of being plugged into your transmitter, you plug in here. So you've got a signal from your transmitter coming in here, on S-Bus here, through your board, out on the cable, into the simulator. The simulator does what the simulator does, and the signal is passed through to your PC and the simulator software, which is great, but by God it's ugly. So I'm going to have a look and see what I can do to make it a little bit better, perhaps a little bit more compact. And if you follow the tracks through on the back of this PCB, I'm not sure if you can see that too well. What you can see is that these pins are effectively just straight through to these pins. But it doesn't get rid of the problem that we've got with these this horrible stereo cable. But what I've done is had a look on the board and found that the 2 pins that are being used, the tip and the middle ring, actually come to this point here. So let's see how we get on with that. Okay, working on the one step at a time principle. I've now wired in the equivalent of the audio cables. So I've got the solid blue wire running from the tip connector and the blue and white wire running from the mid ring of the socket. So the solid wire comes here and the blue and white comes here, and I've just been to test it and everything works fine. Could leave it there, but because I'm getting a little bit of movement there, what I'm going to do now is do a direct pin to pin connection. In honesty, and you can probably see there's a little bit of flux, dried flux up around here. I've done this previously, but I hadn't done the signal cables. I was relying on quite a short stereo lead, so I thought I'd start afresh. So I'm going to actually run some cables from here to here on a direct one-to-one basis, which will eliminate any hassle that I'm getting from this slight wriggle that's evident on the system now. So back in a minute. Okay, so let's see how we get on with that then. So this is where the USBs have now been, the USB connections have been jumpered. Not the tidiest thing in the world, a lot smaller and neater in terms of it being a unit. So what it needs now is a bit of a test. I'm reasonably confident that it's going to work, but I'll get back and let you know, and then I'll show you this listing on AliExpress in case anybody else is interested. Loads of these things wherever you look. AliExpress, Banggood. I say mine came from Banggood. I think it was about £8. There are of course wireless ones you can buy. You just plug a receiver in. Don't know what they're like, But if you've already got one of these, then this is a nice little alternative. Just a little afterthought really. You may have noticed the wiring I was using was stuff that had been stripped out of a Cat5 Ethernet cable. I quite like this wiring. Let's get a different contrast better. I quite like this wiring. It strips easily. It's got a nice solid core, and if you pre-tin it before you try soldering it to those points on the USB, which I recommend, then the insulation tends not to ride back quite so much from the heat when you're tinning the wire. So if you're wondering why I use it, that's why it is. It's a solid core. You don't get the hassle of the individual strands splaying out if you tend to mush it against the point that you're soldering to, which when I do it, at least, it happens quite a lot. If there's a post there sticking up through the board, I'm trying to make the wire connect up. If I use multi-strand wire, then sometimes those wires will separate and it ends up to a very messy joint. This stuff is really nice, particularly for those little jobs like I've just done on the simulator.